Hi, I'm Selene Yeager, author of Bicycling Magazine's Get Fast. Today we're going to go through a flexibility workout. Too many cyclists neglect to stretch, and I understand because it's boring and, well, we just forget to do it. But it's important to keep your muscles flexible and let them go through a full range of motion if you want to be comfortable on your bike and you want to get a strong, full pedal stroke, because your muscles need to be able to move through that full range of motion. So these moves sort of borrow from Pilates, they borrow from yoga. Most importantly, they work your hips, they work your shoulders, they open you up, and they take your cycling muscles through their full range of motion. So the first move we're going to do is the extended triangle. To do this move, you're going to stand tall, put your arms out to the sides. You're going to take a big step to the side with your right foot and point it towards that direction, and then turn your left one a little bit in that direction as well. And then you're going to tip sideways from the waist and stretch out those inner thighs and the back of your legs, reaching as close to the floor as you can. You might not be able to get there, and that's okay. You can just put your hand on your knee, your shin, your foot. If you can reach the ground, go all the way down, and then look straight up to the ceiling. And you want to hold that, breathing deeply, for about 30 seconds. And then you want to come up, and you want to switch over to the other side. Same thing, tip, and stretch. And that is the extended triangle. The next move is a classic. It's the downward dog. This move is great for cyclists because it takes your hamstrings and your calves, and it just stretches out that whole chain that is usually stuck in this position. So to do it, it's easiest to start down on your hands and knees. Hands about shoulder width apart, feet about hip width apart, tuck your toes under, and then you're just going to press your hips up towards the ceiling, and your goal is to look like an inverted V when you're done. So you press up, flatten those feet, toe your tailbone up towards the ceiling. You want your back to be nice and flat as you drop your head through your arms and lower your heels. And you want to breathe deep and hold that for about 30 seconds. And then relax. And that is the downward dog. The next move is the stability ball hip flexor stretch. This one's really important for cyclists because we spend an awful lot of time hunched forward, so our hip flexors get shortened, and then we go right back to our desks where we sit, and then we go into our cars where we sit, and we go home where we sit. So our hip flexors get nice and short, which means they can't fully extend when we're on our bikes, and that's not what you want. You want to make sure that your hip flexors can always fully extend. So to do this, we do a little hip flexor stretch. Works with a stability ball. I like to have a chair by for balance. It's a little bit tricky. So you're going to put your knee on the stability ball. Stand up nice and tall. Keep your hand there for balance, and then you're just going to extend your legs straight back, stretching out that hip flexor. You're going to hold it for about 10 seconds. So you're going to go straight back, bend your knee, keep yourself nice and straight, sink into it, bring it back, and then straight back. Hold that for about 10 seconds, and back. And when you're done, simply switch sides. And that's the stability ball hip flexor stretch. The next move is the thigh lengthener. Obviously, we use our quads an awful lot on our bikes, so it's important to give them a nice full stretch to keep them supple and in their full range of motion. So to do this, you want to kneel on a carpeted floor or mat. And you're just going to go with your arms straight for balance. You're going to tip all the way back. You're going to feel this stretch all the way up your quads, as far back as you can. You don't want things to start really hurting or cramping. Until they stretch. Hold that for 5 seconds, and then contract your glutes and your abs and bring yourself back up. And then go back, keeping nice and straight, and up. And that's a nice little workout for your core as well. All the way back, and up. And that's the thigh lengthener. The next move is the pigeon pose. This is a classic yoga pose, which is excellent for cyclists. It's also pretty difficult for cyclists because, again, it stretches out our hips, which we so rarely stretch, as well as our adductors and our quads, our hamstrings. So go into this a little gently. You may not be able to get like all the way extended or down to the floor. Just get to the point where you can and hold it, and work on getting a little further each time you do it. So you're going to start kneeling, and you're going to extend your right leg all the way back, put your knee on the floor. And then you're going to take this leg and turn it so the foot ends up in front of your right hip and your knee is pointing out to the side. And you want to try to get this thigh as close to the floor or on the floor as possible. And you want to keep your hips nice and square and just sink them into the mat. And you'll feel that stretch throughout your adductors and your hips. And then you want to open your chest, deepen the stretch, look toward the ceiling. And you want to hold that, breathing deeply, sinking into it for 30 seconds. And then when you're done, just come out of it. Do the same thing on the other side. Hips square, drop those hips towards the mat, look up, deepen the stretch, hold for 30 seconds, and that's the pigeon pose. The next move is the back bend chest opener. And like so many of these moves, it's designed to take your body in a different range of motion than you are so accustomed to bending forward over your handlebars. So we're going to take it and you're going to open your chest up, better breathing, give your back a little extension, get some pressure off those discs. Feels really good. So you're going to start in a nice straddle stance and you'll put your hands behind you. And just so you can see, you want to put your fingertips together if you can, put your palms together, and place your hands as high up on your back as you can comfortably get them. So you assume that straddle stance, you get your hands behind your back, and then you just want to turn so you can deepen the stretch and have some good balance, and just bend into it. And again, if you can move your hands a little higher up as you get more comfortable, that's good. Press those palms together. Look towards the ceiling. Open your chest nice and wide. You want to hold that for about 10 seconds, and then come out of it. Then you're going to do it to the other side, just the same way you did. Turn. You get a nice little hip flexor stretch in here as well on the front side of your hip. Look up, open your chest, hold it for 10 seconds, and then release it, and do it one more time to each side. And that is the back bend chest opener. The last move is called the straddle seated windmill. And this move is designed to stretch out your legs everywhere, from the insides to the hamstrings, all the places that we never really get to stretch them. So you want to start in a straddle stance, as wide as is comfortable for you, but at least wider than shoulder width apart. And you're going to take your arms out to the side, sit up nice and tall, and we're just going to twist and bring our right hand over to our left foot. If you can reach it, great. And you're going to hold that for 10 seconds, breathing deep, and then you go to the other side. Same thing, deep breaths, turn into it, deepen that stretch. And you want to do that 2 to 3 times per side, and that is the straddle seated windmill. And that was your flexibility workout. You should try to do that every day if possible. If that's not reasonable, try to do it most days a week, especially after a long or hard ride. You also want to try to do that workout when your muscles are a little warm, so either do it after a ride or after some activity. If you do go into it cold, like when you're watching TV or something, just make sure that you go into it nice and gently. Don't push your muscles into pain. Just be a little bit of discomfort and let them gradually warm up into the stretches. And that should take care of all your aches and pains and make sure that you're not kinked up for your next ride.